Hello and welcome to Different Perspectives. I'm Paul Ndiho, where we dive into ideas shaping our world through voices that challenge the status quo and offer fresh ways of thinking. In today's episode, we explore how artificial intelligence is more than just a global tech trend. It's a powerful opportunity for Africa to leapfrog on its own terms. While much of the world debates the risks and rewards of AI, African innovators like Joshua Opoku Agyemang are reframing the conversation. From education to agriculture to language and culture, we unpack how AI can be a tool for empowerment if we can choose to shape it ourselves. Stay tuned as we explore the premises, the pitfalls, and the possibilities of AI through African lenses. Joshua, welcome to Different Perspectives.
Thank you, Paul. I'm happy to be here.
Let's talk about the emerging technologies. You talked about how some young people were really on the cutting edge of technology, introducing new technologies. There's been a lot of development around AI tools, AI systems. Can you speak more to that? To an average person, what is AI?
When we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, we're basically looking at building systems or machines that can think like human. They are not human, they don't have flesh and blood, but systems that have some level of intelligence as human. So the normal human being, in academics, we say somebody is very brilliant, somebody is very intelligent, meaning they have some abilities, they have some skills that help them to be able to do something that excites us, right? That way we say they are intelligent. Now we're trying to put the same level of intelligence into machines or build that into machines. And that's what is termed by artificial intelligence. Now the goal of AI is to be able to build systems that could be able to make some form of decision on their own so that it doesn't always require human being to be around before that decision could be taken. So for example, um, assuming you're running a bank, you want to be able to detect fraudulent activities or transaction that raises concern. If you have like thousands of records, you need a human being to go through them one thousand of records, and that means you need more human being to be able to validate all that. Now, if you have one AI system, they could be able to scan through all those records probably in a few minutes. That would probably have taken maybe 10 human beings a whole day or maybe a week to be able to get the same work done. Now, in the area of facial recognition, if you have 1,000 people that you need human beings to be able to identify every single person, it's going to take so much time and effort to get one human being to be able to identify 1,000 people within a cloud. But with AI systems, you'll be able to scan all the 1,000 faces within minutes and be able to identify all the people within that space. So these are some of the things that AI help to accelerate some of this work and processes.
There are a lot of people who are concerned about this technology. People think that it's something that could be used for good, but there are a lot of people who think that it could be used by bad actors to do really bad things. How do we prepare ourselves for these emerging technologies?
There's so much happening in the world today in the area of emerging technologies and AI to be specific. All these technologies, the investment, the research that has gone into it, the sole purpose is to help solve problems because it can accelerate the rate at which we solve problems, create new opportunities for as many people as possible. However, there are challenges with privacy, security, ethical concerns as well. So we can take the like of information dissemination, right? You can use AI to write good stories, good articles, good context, good that could really help create rich content for your audience. The same tool can be used by someone to also create misinformation that leads to chaoses among others. Right. The same tools that can be used for creating video content that could excite your customers, engage them, could also be used to create deepfake. That could be used to manipulate people to get them to doing things that are not ethical, right. So these are some of the concerns that we have when it comes to AI being used for good, and at the same time can be used for other bad activities as well. So it's a global challenge as to how we can deal with that. It's still a big challenge. And there's also the concern of AI beating human beings in a number of levels. So we have AI that was able to beat the world chess champion, right? And this AI didn't take so much years to learn. So the champion had learned probably all his life playing chess and winning, but within a short period of time, this AI was able to learn all the moves and even predict moves that human being cannot anticipate it, right? So there's also that when AI systems started to beat or supersede human intelligence, what is likely to happen? And I think this is what led to the conversation of singularity, where we're looking at a time where AI become more conscious and supersede human in all levels. And when that happens, we don't really seem to understand what will happen to the world when AI becomes so better than human beings in all areas. So there are all these challenges that we're still trying to figure out how to build safe AI systems, how to ensure that AI do not take over the world, and still ensuring that all the AI tools and systems we are building, it's built to serve humanity, not to destroy humanity.
You brought up a very good point, especially in my industry. We talk about how this AI could potentially take away our jobs. You build your career on what they call credibility. You, as a journalist, what makes you different, or puts you apart, is your credibility. But now, with this new technology, that credibility could be put in question. You could write an article and somebody says, hey, this was pulled off using AI. How can journalists like me or any other person use AI or use these other tools to make sure that our jobs become efficient, to make sure that we improve productivity when it comes to doing our jobs?
When it comes to your work, especially as journalist and all that, you could use this tool to enhance your work. However, you might not want to solely depend on it to do almost all the work for you. One thing I've come to understand about the generative AI is that they always work in context. So you need to be able to provide a context for the AI system to be able to give you probably your first draft. Then you go ahead to work on it. For me, I think that one helps speed the processes of sitting down to write the entire story yourself. You could be able to provide some context. The AI system generates some drafts for you. You go ahead to add the human touch to it. In as much as the AI system can do most of the generative content for you, um, at times it misses the emotional connection, right? Because yes, the AI systems are not emotional yet, so they can't add that emotional connection when it comes to reading the content. So it's always important that you use it to do what it can do, and then you build it out from there. Now, in the area of your work, um, if you remember, Sophia was able to cast news, and among other things that the humanoid robot was doing. When it comes to displacement of work, especially with journalism, I think yes, there could be a possibility that the AI tools and systems could empower few journalists to do so much work that could have taken a lot of them, or a lot of human beings, to do that work. And that's why I think the human abilities comes in, the human potential, because if AI tool can read a lot of information, summarize it, deliver it very well to the audience, and they like it, then what will make human be more valuable is the part that we can add our imagination, intuitions, emotions into our delivery is going to make us or set us apart from the robots or AI systems. So I think journalism would need to go deeper into human connection. The sympathy and all that would need to be developed so that when a delivery comes from a human journalist, we should be able to feel that no, this is coming from human. And when the same delivery comes from an AI system, we should be able to know that I cannot feel the human touch in this delivery. I think that's where we need to push journalism to.
How about for people who are in different fields? There's also concern, a lot of concern that this AI is going to take away their jobs. This AI could change the way business is done. How do you alleviate their fears?
Well, I think this might not be new. I think it's a transformation happening where we're shifting from the existing industries to new emerging industries as well. If you look at the industrial evolution from the first industrial revolution, when steam engine at the time was the emerging technology was discovered, now all the people who were working in the agriculture and hunting sector have to now learn to work in a factory so that they can produce the steel, the railway industries, and all that. So there was a shift, and most people have to shift to that industries. From there, it led to the second industrial revolution, where we discovered mass production, electricity, and oil. Now we could produce products from oil, a lot of products from oil. We also started producing electrical appliances because we have electricity to power our homes and all that. It also moves people to working in factories. That was the blue collar jobs. Now, all those jobs were people who have to be working in factories. Now, from there, it moved to the white collar job, where we discovered internet and computers. Now, people now have to move from working in factories to working in offices using computers. This is the industry we are experiencing now. Now, we see a new revolution coming, where now most of the jobs are going to be automated. Even the office works, most of them are going to be automated by emerging technologies. And this is also going to change how we see work. What it might mean is that you might not necessarily have to wake up and go to office to work. It means you can wake up, be in your VR, and you be in your virtual office and work. So all this transformation that is happening, I think those who are able to adapt to this new way of life and work will still stay relevant, but those who might not want to move from the traditional office work 8 to 5 might still find it difficult to be able to get jobs because there might not be 8 to 5 kind of work again. And all the work are now going to be either on a gig economy, either based on the value and skills you have. You can work a couple of hours. So, for example, when you look at the transport industries, when all transport goes driverless, it means if you're a driver as a profession, you might not have any car to ride because all the cars are going to be driverless. It means you need to have to shift to, if all cars are driverless, what should be the new jobs for drivers? I think we all have to start figuring our career and what is going to happen to our career and profession in the next 10, 20 years to come and start adapting. That way we'll stay relevant. But if we fail to, then we might end up be displaced by all these technologies.
The issue of regulation, there is a lot of talk about how some of these technologies being developed are way faster than anybody can regulate. Should there be regulation for these AI tools, AI products on the market? Because there are some where for sure they are way ahead of their game. Even here in the US where I live, where you are, countries are still struggling. In the US Congress has not been able to pass regulation when it comes to some regulating AI or even the internet for that matter. Maybe perhaps more recently, the US president signed an executive order that allows governments, these technology companies, to inform people that they used AI to do certain things, So it's only now that people are beginning really to talk about it. From where you stand, is regulation critical for this industry to thrive?
Yes, I think, yes, the regulation is very, very important because if you look at all the emerging technologies, they have never happened before. We've never fully understand their potentials. Blockchain, for example, powering cryptocurrencies, powering Web3. Up to now, we still haven't figured out how exactly all these technologies are going to change our world, right? We're still going through that processes. When we take AI, for example, we have not fully understand AI systems to their core. So there's still the challenges of to what extent are these technologies going to drive humanity? Is there a possibility that they might decide to end human life uh, and bring the civilization to an end? So these are all things that I think we still haven't been able to figure them out yet because we're still developing them to understand their potential. There's also development in lab-grown meats. Right now, some companies are now growing beef and chicken in the lab without necessarily depending on live poultry and all that. So there's so much happening all together at the same time that it's very difficult to even understand all these emerging technologies to the extent that they can be able to strictly regulate them. So what I think will happen is that regulators need to be able to catch up because the regulators are also not willing to invest into researching, to understanding, to learning from innovators. It's going to be difficult for them to regulate them. Innovators are going to take the risk, invest their resources to explore new territory, and if regulators are not willing to do the same, then innovators are always going to be 10 to 20 steps ahead of regulators and always have to push and see the challenges before regulators can come in. Another thing I think regulators could do is to also be having what we call soft regulation. So set up the playground and make room for um, freedom for innovators to play around. So at least the base is set, but there should be some freedom, room of freedom for innovators to play around. Because if you don't also set that freedom, then you also ensure that innovators could not go beyond the regulatory framework that has been set, and that will not bring innovation. Because innovation, especially when we're talking about destructive innovation, is supposed to distract old systems, old regulatory, so that we can have new regulatory bodies or regulatory system to regulate them. And the area of AI is become very difficult, especially when it comes to generative AI. When an AI system generates content, who owns the content? So when a journalist use AI to generate an article and publish it, is it owned by the AI company or the companies whose data was used to train the AI or the person who used the AI to generate the content? So the context of ownership and copyright issue is one of the biggest challenge when it comes to generative AI, because this AI system had learned from a lot of data source from different companies and individuals to be able to generate the content they're generating. However, whatever you generated was unique to you because you generated that in a context. The AI system will not be able to generate the same content you did, even if you ask the same question. It's always going to be different. Now, how do you define ownership when it comes to content that are uniquely generated for you based on the information or the prompts you put in? So there's a lot of concern when it comes to AI systems, or I mean all the emerging technologies as well.
How about people who argue that, for example, some of these AI, let's say you talked about the issue of copyright, the issue of who owns content. That's a big deal. When it comes to like our field, obviously you can't use somebody's work without giving them credit. If you did, they would call that plagiarism. Now, how can people like us in this industry use technology like that? Because if you're talking about generative AI where it's picking from thousands and thousands of data sets to give you that information, now how do you know, or how can you tell that this information belongs to so and so, so that you can give them the due credit?
Yeah, it's a challenge. At the moment, that's very challenging. Um, I don't think I have answer to that, but it's still something we're still trying to figure out, especially for us. And I think it's very difficult to determine where even the source of information came from, right? Because we are not privy to those data or information. Mostly the company that built the AI system might know where their data sets are coming from, but end users will not be able to know much about where the data set is coming from and who to even give credit to. In the area of photography or art, creative arts, assuming AI system designed or generates image of existing design. So maybe the world's greatest artists, their work are being generated by AI for some people to use it. Maybe in that context, credit could be given to the person's work which it was modeled for the generation. But when it comes to text and article, it's very, very difficult because it's English, it's a language spoken, and it's difficult to associate that text to a particular person or reference. It's very, very difficult. But when it comes to visual, I think that could be easy to say, oh, this work looks like the work of this artist. So we could be able to give some sort of credit to the person. When it comes to beats and music, to composition of beats and music, again, it's also very difficult to give credit to because the beats varies and different frequencies and harmonies and all that, unless maybe your output looks similar to an existing composer, then maybe you can give that credit to. But text is very, very, very complicated.
You brought up a very interesting point that I wanted to go back to. You talked about the issue of language. Most models are trained on English, Western English. We are looking at maybe United States or North America and Europe, you know. So a lot of us are not represented when it comes to these AI models being trained. So what can we do maybe to feel like we are part of this conversation? How can we be on the table where some of these tools are being trained or these decisions that affect us are being made?
Yeah, so I think for our part of the world, our diversity is very, very huge. You have very huge diversity. You take Ghana, for example, Ghana might have over 30 to 50 spoken languages. Right, so there's huge diversity only in a population of about 30 million. Right, so developing large language models for localized languages also become very challenging. Now you need to decide which of the languages are you going to, and it's going to be difficult to do for all the 30 languages at a go. You might have to pick one at a time, and I think it's one of the challenges we face as a continent. When you take the United States, they all have one spoken language, which is English. Europe, there are a number of diversity, but the US is only English, so it's easier for them to all commit their resources to building a data set that is English. Africa, every African state have so many, within the country, so many diversity in language spoken. So I guess as a continent, we need to figure out what our major spoken language should be. Then we can start building our data set starting from that one language. Then collectively we can contribute to it. And it also means that this language has to be taught in all our schools. It should be our spoken languages so that all the application we build around it could be relevant to every citizen of Africa. If not, we'll build a language model, let's say Swahili, and then if Swahili is not taught in Ghanaian schools, students can't speak it, it will not be relevant to them. So whatever solution we end up building, it still might not be impactful to them as well. So I think there's a policy issues on a continent level, and then within the national policies too, we should have policy issues that ensure that on a continental level, we have a major language accepted to be spoken by all African states. Then we can start building towards that. Then on the national level too, we need to also have a language accepted to be the dominant speaking language. Then local innovators can start building towards that. And we need to also ensure that all this language, if not being taught in the schools, it should be taught in the schools. Because once we get taught in school, we get to understand how to write it, how to speak it, then we can start building applications using them. So I think it's one of the barriers we face as a continent. And I also believe that with technologies like AI, we should be able to solve some of this complex communication barrier.
Earlier, you talked about something that I found very interesting. You talked about the issue of, for example, of leapfrogging. Take, for example, mobile money payments like M-Pesa in Kenya. It took the world by storm. Can people leverage on AI to do things like that, especially like in the healthcare sector, in education, in agriculture? Can people leverage AI to leapfrog some of the things that we couldn't do because of the lack of infrastructure, to use AI to take us to the next level?
Yes, I do believe we can leapfrog, and we have the chance to leapfrog actually, because as you gave the example when it comes to fintech, um, we didn't have all the banking infrastructure on the continent before we can access financial services. But even with the feature phone, which is the phone with no internet, we'll still be able to deliver and access financial services as well. That's huge because it has been the one of its kind across the world. And after Kenya and Pesa, Ghana, we also have our mobile money, which has also helped to get a lot of people who were not banking to now be able to bank using their feature phone, also called a YAM phone. If you also look at communication too, you realize that African leapfrog, Africa did not have to have telephones in all our homes before we were able to communicate. It means we didn't have to build all the infrastructure for us to have landline or telecom lines in our homes so that we can communicate or make calls. We leapfrog straight to mobile phones. So that was huge. It means it saved us a lot of investment in infrastructure that afterwards we should have also um, evolved to mobile phone. We cut the whole, probably a whole decade or two or three into communication. And from the mobile phone, we moved straight to smartphone. Uh, what I see for us is to be able to first understand the development of these technologies happening, because for us to be able to leapfrog financial services, we saw the need for that services, we saw the challenges, we understood it, and then some innovators or some organization took that risk to push the whole nation into that new revolution. I think in our generation, we need to see some new startups, new innovators, or young innovators willing to take the whole nation to the next level they have to be. But most of these leapfrogs are not driven by government. They are driven by private people, individuals, and innovators who have seen the need to change and be able to drive the whole nation. I think when it comes to fintech, a lot is happening. Today, you can send money from one African country to the other easily because we have a lot of innovators innovating to break the barrier when it comes to remittance services. Right. We need to see a lot of that happening in the area of transportation, in the area of communication, in the area of healthcare, education, agriculture, and all that. So I think yes, we have some young innovators pushing hard, and hopefully we're going to see a lot of this happening very soon. In the next decade, we should see some bold entrepreneurs willing to leapfrog the whole continent to where it has to be. And I think it's going to be an advantage for the continent to not make all the mistakes that the developed countries did made in their process of their development. We can learn from their mistakes and then make sure we leapfrog and not repeat the same mistakes that they've made.
What are the pros and cons of using AI?
So when it comes to the pros and cons, first of all, I want to say that the whole idea of building an AI system started back in the 1950s by a computer scientist called Alan Turner, and his idea was trying to build a machine that could be able to, or a software that could be able to mimic some human intelligence. So that was the concept. So you could see that from day one, the idea was to try to make our softwares a bit smarter and intelligent. So you could clearly see that the intention was for good. But then as things evolved, we began to see the potentials of it. And it started first with the likes of the Siri, Google Assistant, where now the average consumer gets to experience AI. This was somewhere in the 2010 and 11 thereabout, where all these AI systems were inbuilt into our phones. Then the development started with the voice assistant systems in smart speakers, the likes of Amazon Alexa, and then the Google Home Assistant, and the Apple HomePod all started coming up. Then we began to appreciate that, oh, AI could be more interactive. We could be able to talk to, use it to order stuff. It became so interesting. So we saw the new waves of generative AI. Right now, it goes beyond just interactive, but be able to generate context and information that literally do not exist or novel new, right? This also open up a lot of possibilities. And now a lot of companies have used these APIs from large language models to build so many applications in the area of customer service, in chat diagnosis and all that. There's a lot going on that if you follow the trend, you realize that every organization using these tools are using them to solve problems. However, there are some few people, not so much, who had also seen the opportunity to use the same system to commit more crime. So in the area of cyber crime, it means that now people can now build AI system to be committing crimes even when they are not there in person. So they can build intelligence systems that could be breaking down other systems or sending DoD attacks to servers without them personally have to be involved, right? So I think the challenges, the pros are great, but then the cons too can be very devastating depending on the level of attack that is being used. So with AI, there's been a high rise of misinformation, and it's becoming difficult to even know what is right information and what is wrong. Humans are finding it difficult to be able to differentiate between a good information and misinformation. So when it comes to context of deepfake videos, it's becoming difficult to even tell the difference between original videos and the deepfake videos, because the human too is overwhelmed with so much information that we don't even have enough time to process all this information to understand the ones that are true and the ones that are not. And because it's generated by AI system, it's intelligent enough to make it look very real. So all these things are challenges that we are facing. And then when it comes to IoT and the likes of robotics and all that, um, exposing all our infrastructure to the internet also poses threats that when somebody is able to hack into our national grid, it means they can shut down all our power. That could lead to a lot of harms. When somebody hack into our water system, they can shut down the flow of water remotely, right? So these are all the challenges that we see uh, that come as a result of these technologies. And there's a need to ensure that we also put the right implications, security implications in place, and also have ethical and regulatory compliances to ensure that all these technologies are safeguarded from all these cyber attacks.
For people who are skeptical about AI, what would you tell them? People who are out there like, no, I don't want to touch this thing. It's too scary.
It's good to be scared. It's a human nature to be scared, because if you really get to understand why we feel afraid, it has always been we've been afraid of the things we don't know. So they say fear is not real. False evidences appearing to be real, right? So yes, there might be some level of fear of the dangers of these technologies, the fact that they have the potential to take away our jobs, potentials to cause harm in the hands of wrong people. I think these are all our imaginative mind trying to help us understand the negative impact of all this as well. I think if we don't also push to develop good innovations and technology using them, then yes, then the negative side would outweigh the positive side. In every era, in every generation, there's always been the case of the good versus evil, the good technologies, and then the bad technologies as well. I don't think the technology itself is bad or good. The intentions were all for good, but then if the intention changes, then it could be used for a bad thing. There was a saying that The world is a dangerous place, not because we have bad people or evil people, but because the good people are doing nothing about it. So I would say if you're scared about these technologies, I would challenge you to learn as much as possible, invest into the knowledge, understand it, and then create more awareness. Because the more you have understanding of the technology, the more you begin to appreciate the goodness of it and understand how you can mitigate the harm that could be caused using them. So I think we should invest a lot of learning into it, and it has come to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. The driverless cars are coming, the robotics are coming, the flying taxis are coming, IoTs are coming, smart cities are coming. It's a revolution. It always happens every century. So what I can say is that we need to embrace it and make the best out of it. Because through that, we'll be able to solve many of our problems we face, especially in Africa. I'll be happy to see Africa embracing emerging technologies, producing so much food to feed the world. Because we have the potential, we have the good soil. We can apply more technologies, be able to produce a lot of food to feed the continent and export a lot to feed the world. And I think this is an advantage for us. And every African youth should be challenged that this is their time to make the best out of their continent. Thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much for your time.
So thank you too.
Would like to know what you think about AI and what you are doing about it. Share your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to Paul Ndiho on Substack, X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Spotify. Thanks for watching.